Morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. I see everybody rolling in. I hope everybody's having a great morning this morning. And thank you for joining us for our February Outdoor Florida webinar hosted by the Office of Greenways and Trails. My name is Gabrielle Stewart, and we are so excited to have everyone today. I hope all is well. And today we are going to be featuring Abe Christian, Executive Director of the FTA. Abe works to ensure that Florida's beautiful scenic trails are well equipped with all of the informational and recreational demands visitors may need the most. Before we get into the webinar, I do have a couple of reminders for today. At the end of the presentation, we will have a question and answer portion, so please hold all questions until then, and you can use the chat tab to write in your questions. Please note this webinar is being recorded and will be available to view on the Florida State Parks YouTube channel and our website in the future. And with that, I'd just like to go ahead and introduce our speaker. Abe Christian is a devout outdoorsman who has been associated with the FTA for over 10 years. Growing up in Gainesville, he developed a deep appreciation in the natural beauty of Florida, spending countless hours exploring in woods and swamps. After a successful career in retail, Abe turned his attention to the outdoors, volunteering his time and skills to support the Florida Trail Association. Now serving as the active executive director of the FTA, Abe is committed to leading the organization into a future where Florida Trail is fully realized. He envisions a trail system free of roadwalks where hikers can be fully immersed in nature. To achieve this ambitious goal, Abe will leverage the power of community through crowd surfing fundraisers and partner with local organizations to create more events like the Florida Trail Fest. Personally, Abe aims to continue pushing his limits as an ultra runner, participating in events like 100-mile Forgotten Florida. He is also eager to spend more time on the trail, working alongside volunteers and attending chapter meetings to foster a stronger and more connected trail community. Thank you again, Abe, for taking time to speak out on today's webinar. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you now, so please go ahead and share your screen when you're ready.
You bet. Thanks, Gabrielle. Awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm honored to be the acting executive director for Florida Trail Association. And let me go ahead and share my screen here so I can show my presentation. Hopefully everybody can see my PowerPoint that I have teed up for us today. All right, so what I'm going to be talking about is it's going to be an introduction to the Florida Trail Association. And I'm going to be covering a few different things. Oop, let me move my little block so that's not in the way. And so we're talking about what a National Scenic Trail is, where is the Florida Trail, what's the Florida Trail Association, talk about some of our chapters, talk about volunteering with us, talking about our Gateway program, Next Gen, our FTA Access, and some other steps to get involved with Florida Trail. So those are the things I'll be covering today. Okay, guys? All right, so what is the Florida National Scenic Trail? So it's a 1,500-mile trail that goes through Florida. And it's so funny because I'm out there talking to people about the Florida Trail, and a lot of people don't even know about it. But they know about the Appalachian Trail. So I use that as leverage words. Hey, have you heard of the Appalachian Trail? Well, there's a similar trail that goes all the way through Florida. So it starts on at the Panhandle, it goes all the way down to Big Cypress. You can hike on the beach, you can hike through the woods, and all the way down into the Everglades. Um, it's the 1,500-mile trail also includes, some people do through hikes with it, and that's 1,100 miles, and I'll show you that in a few moments. If you are ever out on a trail somewhere and you notice an orange blaze, then that would be the Florida Trail. And a blaze is about a dollar bill size, and it's orange, and that indicates where the trail is. So some places, like you see in this image, it might be wet and you can't actually see the footpath. So if you see one blaze, you should be able to see the next. And that's a great indicator for people being able to traverse the trail. Now, we also have other trails out on Florida as well, but Florida Trail Association is mainly focused on that 1,500-mile continuous trail that goes all the way through Florida. So a little bit of the stats here. So this is an image of the Florida Trail. And as you see, it starts up there in Gulf Island National Seashore and goes down to Big Cypress. And most of our hikers actually start in Big Cypress and head north. It's called a northbound hike, but we are trying to promote it being a southbound hike as well. You'll also notice that it goes around Orlando. It splits between the western corridor and the eastern corridor, starting there in Ocala and then coming back together down south of Orlando. That way, you can get a good. Most people end up taking the eastern side of that route, but this way it allows pretty much anywhere in Florida you can be within about an hour of the trail, which is really nice. You'll also see that it goes around Okeechobee. Same sort of thing. Most people end up taking the eastern path if they're doing a long distance continuous hike. Some of the stats here, as you can see, we got the full mileage is there. There are some roadblocks that we have, and the roadblocks can be anything from a Jeep trail to you're actually walking on a sidewalk or something like that, or you're on the side of a road. Everything is safe, and you have the ability to walk on something that's actually established. You're not on an actual road, but there definitely are some opportunities where we need to make it so that we have more of an established path through the woods. And that's what we consider roadblocks. So trying to prioritize those areas. And you'll notice some other stats that are in there as well. One of the nicest ones I want to mention is the shelters. So there's different variations of size shelters out there. But if you ever do the AT, there's a bunch of shelters that the parts of the Appalachian Trail I've done, there it feels like there's a shelter every 10 miles, whereas here, not as many shelters to take advantage of. So what is a national scenic trail? So there are 11 uh, national scenic trails that are out there. But there's all kinds of other trails too, historical ones and things like that. So you can see all of the different trails that are available for anybody in the United States on this map. And typically they're federally designated routes that are continuous, that are more than 100 miles. And a lot of times they're connecting landmarks or other public lands. And so those are some different trails that are available out there that I recommend folks to go out and hike. So where is the Florida Trail? So the FNST, that's how we abbreviate it. It's the Florida National Scenic Trail. We also call it just the Florida Trail. Um, so from Big Cypress National Reserve, there in the Everglades, all the way up to Gulf Shore National Park there in Pensacola. And so you can be within an hour away of the trail at any time. So there's no excuse to not to have a chance like to not be able to go out there and enjoy the trail. On our website, we have an interactive map. So you can scan this QR code or visit that link right there and get an idea of exactly where the trail is near you. Our interactive map offers parking locations for those trailheads, where the local water is, and if you wanted to do some longer distance hiking, it can give you an idea of where different things for like refueling or different cities and towns are available. Also on our website, we have in our shop, we have guidebooks and other sort of detailed maps as well. So the Florida Trail is following a similar path to the wildlife corridor that's out there. There's the wildlife corridor is basically a blueprint for landscape conservation in Florida. It's a vision of an interconnected, protected landscape. So the light green bits on the maps are opportunity areas. So it's light green. And then so basically there's meaning they're part of that wildlife corridor vision, but not yet protected. Now there is a state law that says that the state should try to protect those areas. The darker green are actually protected lands of all types, public lands, lands with conservation easements, military, and that sort of thing. So you'll see that Florida Trail is basically trying to follow that same Greenway Wildlife Corridor. So I like to say that we're the trailhead to the wildlife corridor. Oh. So there's so much different sort of ecological opportunities to be able to view out there on the Florida Trail. So what are you going to see out there? So you can scan this QR code, and it'll take you to a storyboard that gives you more information about each of these places. But as an overview, uh, the Panhandle region is going to be more beach-like. It's going to have more flat pineland. There are some sinkholes. Plus, over the last few years, we've had a lot of hurricane damage. So you will see a lot more broken off pine tree areas that are going through that area. Um, and then as you start going to the north region, you'll get into the Swanee River, you'll get into a Scylla area, you'll start getting into a little bit more rivers. And there's like along the Swanee River, it's so great. You can hike right along it, and you're like right on the edge of a 30-foot cliff that's you can look down into the water. That's quite nice. That's where we do some of our events along the Swanee River. As you get into the central area, it starts getting a little bit wetter. And you'll go through Ocala, which you have a lot more pine flats and a little bit more oak trees and things like that. And then the farther south you get, the more swamp you get. So Kissimmee area, you'll have more of a prairie views, and then more water as you get farther into the Everglades. You start getting into uh, limestone paths where you're basically hiking through water for extended periods of time. So lots and lots of stuff to be able to see when it comes to Florida flora and fauna out there on the Florida Trail. So what's the history of the FNSG? So it was started, it's a grassroots effort back in the 60s by a bunch of hikers that just love the trails. And they started adding in more and more sections of trail. And then they got in 83, it was designated as the eighth federally recognized national scenic trail. And remember, I had mentioned before, there are 11 of those national scenic trails. And so it's a protected route that the Forest Service and us, as well as a lot of other partners, make sure is taken care of in perpetuity so that we can all enjoy a hike in the woods together or alone if you want to go alone. Awesome. So we talked about the National Scenic Trail. What's Florida Trail Association? Well, Florida Trail Association is here to build, maintain, protect, and promote the trail. We're really trail maintainers. We work with, we have a limited staff of about 10 employees that take care of working with a bunch of volunteers. So ultimately, at the end of the day, we are about 400 plus active volunteers out there, feet on the ground, taking care of trail. And our staff helps work with land managers, helps coordinate events where those trails are getting taken care of. Now, the Florida Trail Association, where our main focus is that 1,500-mile continuous trail. However, our chapters take care of a lot of other trails, and we're there to support them with that as well. So there are all kinds of other little side trails that are connecting to the Florida Trail or even not connecting. And so we help our chapters make sure that all those trails that they want to take care of they have the right tools, that they're safe, and they have the right experience to be able to take care of those trails really well. Past that, we do lots of outreach events, creating awareness about the Florida Trail, education, and just trying to create an environment where people know about the trail and have an opportunity to go out and get involved or go and experience hiking it. So there's different partners that are involved with the trail. So there's there are coalition members, and this group meets basically every 6 months. And the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, Office of Greenways and Trails, the very people that you're interacting with right now and viewing, they're one of the key coalition members for this. And so the Florida Trail is one of the partners that works with the Forest Service and these other organizations where we all have the same goal of taking care of this continuous trail as well as just the conservation efforts that are involved with that sort of work. And there's no way this Florida Trail Association can do it alone. It's a collaborative effort of a lot of people getting together with a singular focus of taking care of the trail. And it's really an honor to be part of all this. All righty. So I mentioned about the Florida Trail chapters just a moment ago. So there are 19 different chapters distributed all across Florida. There's really no way for Florida Trail staff to be able to manage just everything in aggregate. So that's where we have many chapters, and they each have their own section leaders, trail coordinators. They have their own chapter leadership. They do their own activity hikes. They do a lot of work parties. So, and each chapter kind of manages things ever so slightly differently, but we're here as a support to make it so that they can reach their goals. And so, as you see in the map here, that each of the chapters are made up of different counties, and each chapter has its own responsibility for a section of trail to maintain. Um, the Florida Trail Association, working with our major partner with the Forest Service, we have a cost share agreement. So we've agreed to cover the cost of certain things. Also, we've agreed to get at least, if not over, and we are continuously over, our 20,000 volunteer service hours. So it's because of all the great volunteers that go out there and make a difference, getting the trail to the point where it's been cleared, getting the doing activities, even just the administrative side of things that they have to do, keeping track of all those hours and inputting that. So all of that in aggregate, we reach a goal of a certain amount of hours, and then the Forest Service helps us with cost of some of the salaries, cost of the infrastructure, fuel, and tools that we need to make a difference on the trail. There's all sorts of different tools we need: mowers, chainsaws, loppers. There's a lot of stuff that we need to be able to actually maintain the trail. And you can scan that QR code right there, and you can learn more about all these different chapters and even the ones local to you to get involved. So trails don't build themselves. I think that's one of our favorite mottos to have on our shirts and the different merch that we sell. So there's all sorts of different terrain that we need to get through. So as you can see in this picture, if it's wet, to try to keep people's feet dry, which is not going to happen. You're never going to hike the whole trail and not have your feet wet. But during the deeper parts, there really needs to be some sort of infrastructure that allows the people to be able to walk across safely. And so we have a very strict guidelines for how we produce infrastructure. There's also guidelines on how to clear trails. So for more or less, it's about a 6 foot wingspan. So if you can reach your arms out, if you touch anything, those are things you need to be cutting. So that way people can walk through and see the trail. The whole 1,500 miles of trail are cleared each year. So compared to up north, most of them, like Appalachian Trail, they're doing their trail work basically when it's the summertime. Whereas you really can't do trail work during the summertime in Florida. You know, some of our dedicated volunteers do. They're out there attacking trail and clearing it with the mosquitoes. But for the most part, our work time is during the October to March time. So we're really wrapping up our trail work season right now. And we're able to report back to the Forest Service that we've gotten all 1,500 miles of the trail cleared. Um, but we don't, if you don't want to do trail work and you want to get involved, there's all kinds of other things. We need chapter leadership. We need folks to go out there and inspect trail. We need people to help shuttle trail workers around. There's always a kitchen crew that's needed. You know, we work hard and we also feed you well. So lots of other things that you can do to get involved with the Florida Trail. And also the other picture there is doing outreach tabling events and things like that to create awareness about the Florida Trail. So some of the programs that we have with Florida Trail, one of them is our Next Gen Coalition. So there's a big opportunity that we have to be able to get younger folks out on the trail. And so a few years back, we created this Next Generation Coalition program, and it's currently being head by somebody that will be on the next one of these Greenway webinars. And Emily, she'll be on it, and she'll be talking about her program. But it's an incentive program. It's a program designed specifically for younger folks to get involved, and it's built around them being the next generation of workers. And we've had in the past, we've had good 3 or 4 employees now that have come from that program and come over and actually ended up becoming employees of Florida Trail Association. So it's a really great opportunity for them to be able to get in to this industry, which is really great. You can learn more by sending us an email at ng@floridatrail.org or visiting our website. The next program we have is our Gateway Communities program, and there are 16 Gateway Communities programs. Similar to how there's the there's the Trail Towns program with the Sun Trails being more of the paved walkways, whereas ours is more of a foot traffic route through the woods. There's definitely some times where you'll be on like a rails to trails or on a sidewalk with Florida Trail, but most of the time we're in the woods. And so as you come up to towns, these are gateway communities, and there are 16 of them. And this is a really great program because you can get to these towns, and we have a passport program. And you go to the different businesses that are there, and you can get a stamp on your passport. And this is a great thing to be able to help the local economy of those areas, and it gets the towns involved with the trail that's coming through there. One of the most popular ones is White Springs. We just had our Florida Trail Fest there, and that's, if I recall, it's the first gateway community we had. It's basically at the center of the 1,500 miles there in White Springs. And so you can learn a lot more about the different gateway communities that we have if you visit our website or send us an email. Another program we have is our FTA Access program. Now, this is something we're really trying to figure out. And currently, it's still sort of in its infancy. We do have the Jolette, which is a device that allows anybody that's mobility challenged to be able to enjoy the trail. And then you have two Sherpas, we call them, on either end. You can have other people in the middle too, depending on how difficult the terrain might be. But this allows anybody to be able to go out and enjoy the trail. And so currently right now we're training volunteers and working out how our staff can support this. It's mostly just in Gainesville right now, but we do have long-term plans of having multiple devices and multiple activities out there for people to be able to take advantage of this. If you happen to be in the Gainesville area on February 22nd, we have our first major event for this. You can learn more by visiting floridatrail.org FTA Access. Alrighty, so next steps to getting involved. Become a member. I need you to become a member of the Florida Trail Association. You can visit floridatrail.org/join. Also looking into the different chapters that are out there. You can volunteer and donate and get involved that way too. The other thing that we're working on is trying to create different major fundraising events. Right now, we had our first, like just this last weekend in White Springs, we had the Florida Trail Fest. We're looking to get that much bigger as the years go on. And we also have our I Did a Hike event. That'll be at the beginning of March. Take a look and learn more at floridatrail.org/I Did a Hike. And if you just have any questions about Florida Trail or the Florida Trail Association, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at fta@floridatrail.org, or just visit your information about your local thing on your local chapter page as well. Cool.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for that presentation, Abe.
You bet.
That was amazing. So much information, so many resources that are available to us. So I want to thank you for giving that information to us. I'm definitely eager to visit one of the Florida Scenic Trails. I've actually never been, so that'll be exciting. Yeah. Um, we are now going to open the floor to questions, so feel free to type those in the chat section now. I do have a couple of questions to start with. So, my first question is, what kind of amenities can visitors expect when they visit Florida Trails?
That's a great question, Gabrielle. So along the trail, mainly in those gateway communities, as we kind of focus on those 16 different gateway communities, there's going to be restaurants. There's going to be ways to refuel your water and whatever kind of things you need at the local Walmart and stuff like that. So those are the gateway community sort of infrastructure. But if let's say you're out in the woods, really far out there, so along the trail, if you visit our interactive map, you can find out where water caches are. Because if you're hiking out there and it's quite hot, you're going to go through water pretty quickly. So planning out where your next opportunity for water is, if you didn't, like one of the things I try to recommend folks to bring as well is some sort of life straw or water filter. Because what if you need to fill up at like a pond or something like that? You want to be safe with that. We have some really great trail angels, and those trail angels all throughout the state leave caches of water, like water bottles and things like that. So that's a really great thing to be able to take advantage of. Past that, you get like some really nice parking areas and then a very established hike and some really good scenic areas as well. But that's sort of like the amenities you would kind of expect.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Um, and then what are some of the ways that the FTA communicates with visitors and partner agencies that want to improve the Florida trail systems?
Yeah, another great question. So, if you are at a major trailhead, there's like minor trailheads, but for the most part, if you're at one that's well established with a parking area, there'll be a kiosk there, and the kiosk will actually tell you all about that section of trail. And if you wanted to be able to get involved with giving feedback, there's a direct link for that sort of thing. Um, Also, we use social media to reach out to our different partners and our reach of folks, and we create an environment with collaborating with our partners, the different coalition, to have regular meetings, to be able to get feedback from them, to be able to just talk about some of the areas of opportunity and improvement for the trail. And that's really one of the best ways for us to move forward is those different avenues for communication amongst either way.
Yeah, okay. So I hope those answers were very helpful to our audience here. I have a question from Mr. John Groves. He says, what do you recommend to do for larger river crossings like in St. Mark's?
Yeah, so we do have infrastructure plans in a lot of these areas. Some of the major ones, we do need to get the counties and the different government organizations involved to actually move forward with these projects. The bigger the project, the more time it takes, the more impact statements, and basically we just need to do our due diligence. We work with the local government, work with the Forest Service, and whatever other land managers and agencies are involved to make sure that we create a infrastructure that allows us to be able to get through those areas that's nice and safe. Now, the smaller ones don't require as much time. So, for example, we're doing some stuff in the Kissimmee area. Um, and those are more smaller punch-in projects. We still establish with the landowners that we're doing something, and we make sure that the Forest Service is in agreement with how we unfold those. But it's not quite as much uh, impact statement and different sort of like paperwork that we need to do. So there's all different levels of it, but we do have a plan to close as much of the water walking as possible. It's never going to truly be 100% where you keep your feet dry in Florida. It's just never going to be that way. Mainly because we just don't necessarily have the staff or volunteer base to maintain a gigantic amount of infrastructure. So it's trying to put in infrastructure that is for those most important spots that are borderline unsafe, need something to be able to make it so you can get across that area. I think you might still be muted.
Sorry, I did mute for a second there. Miss Monique says, Abe, just FYI, I'm a native Floridian and first heard about it at Earth Day Fest at Oxbow Eco Center in PSL. Thanks for the info.
Awesome.
Our next question is from Tim Horkin. Amazing that this trail is contiguous. Can you estimate how much of the trail uses federal land versus state park land versus local park land versus private land? Also, what role does DEP play in this effort?
Boy, that's a very specific question. I don't have those numbers exactly in front of me. I would say we would look at the the interactive map, and you can get a better idea of exactly those. You have the Ocala National Forest. There's another national forest up in the Panhandle that it goes through. So you have those larger plots. There is a good amount of national parks that it's going through as well. But without like zooming into a interactive map, I don't have those uh, that answer specifically. And then the where the Department of you said the Department of what was the
Yeah,
other?
DEP. Yeah.
Yeah, so DEP.
What role does DEP play? Yeah.
Yeah, so there it's so the DEP with the Office of Greenways and Trails, there the Greenways and Trails is motivated to help us as well as their other trails that are out there to move forward with facilitating knowledge about the trail that's out there. So you have the basically the Forest Service is more or less FTA's boss, and then you have DEP, which is more or less the Office of Greenways and Trails Boss, but we're all part of a coalition with the same sort of goal. That's kind of so it's indirect, but we definitely have a component of where we're working together on a similar goal to promote all the trails in Florida.
Okay. And then Miss Monique says, are there volunteer opportunities at Gateway Center?
Yeah, you bet. So each chapter will have, not every chapter has a gateway community, but depending on the gateway community you might be in, there would be different opportunities available. The best way to move forward with seeing what opportunities are available out there would be to visit floridatrail.org/portal. Also, if you just visit our website, floridatrail.org, you can look at the menu and see where it says volunteer right at the very top of the menu. Um, you'll unpack more all the different sort of opportunities that are out there. Most of the time, our major amounts of volunteer opportunities are going to be around uh, trail maintenance. Like I mentioned before, that's FTA's main component is maintaining the trail, but we still do activities that are out there and we still support what goals that the chapters have.
Okay, awesome. I hope that answered you guys' questions. Again, feel free to reach out to Abe directly through the FTA. With that, we're going to wrap things up. Um, Thank you again, Abe, for telling us all about the Florida Trail Association and your contribution to the organization. If anyone here is not yet subscribed to our monthly webinar series, you can do so on our website. That would be at floridadp.gov/OGT, and I'll put that in the chat before we leave here. Um, Next month, we will be learning about youth involvement in the outdoors and trail maintenance. That would be that next gen um, organization that the FDA has, and our guest will be Emily Patton. If you have any questions or feedback about today's webinar or the Outdoor Florida webinar series, please feel free to email us at Office of Greenways and Trails at floridadp.gov. And thank you again for joining. We'll see you next time.